The night.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Horrornightoasis, a radio show where we discuss all the latest movies and news from the world of horror, mainly public domain movies like Popeye and Winnie the Pooh.
Pretty much anymore.
As always, here's my co-host Ian. How are you doing, my friend?
I am doing all right, actually.
Yes, apparently we cannot get away from public domain month. As I mentioned to you, every time we want to start something new, here comes another public domain movie, and we try to start up something new to get away from it, try to wipe our hands clean. Nope, here comes another one, and that's here we are again for another one. And I want to make a quick note. During the last review, which was Popeye's Revenge, I made the comment that I assumed that Popeye the Slayer Man was, or Popeye's Revenge was a retitling of Popeye the Slayer Man. I was misinformed. Apparently, there's two, and not that it matters, but still, I want to make that on the record and correct myself. And here we are, talking about another Popeye movie, Popeye the Slayer Man, and man, this one. I don't know where to begin, but I guess we just get into it. This one is the Americanized version, finally, of the Popeye mythos. Whereas, again, Popeye's Revenge was over the pond. So finally, we got one American-made. And so this rendition of the story is a little bit similar to Popeye's Revenge, where we're following a group of they're wanting to do this documentary on this old canning factory warehouse, whereas Popeye's Revenge, it was a documentary doing the paranormal in this swamp area where Popeye resides because of the lore of Popeye in that one. And so this one, it was shut down due to a contamination, and again, the lore and the backstory, we'll get into it as we progress further. But we're introduced to a group of characters, but we only need to know a few. We have Olivia and Dexter, and we have Katie. Now, Katie works at this pub area, and she's dating Joey, and Joey is a narcissistic asshole type character that only thinks of himself, and he has his buddies that kind of shoots like things in his ear, like, oh, she hasn't called you, so she's probably banging this other dude, like she shouldn't have her phone turned off and stuff like that. And they're just putting all this stuff in his ear, and that gets him pissed off. And because for some reason he can only have Katie and only thinks of Katie, and even though he doesn't really care about her, there's definitely a bad relationship there. And then we have Olivia and Dexter, her friends, and so they all decide to go to the Anchor Bay warehouse I'm wondering if the director is a fan of the DVD company Anchor Bay back in the day, because it was kind of funny if you're a physical media guy and you collected Anchor Bay titles, DVDs, and stuff. Kind of a little bit of a nod, but they go there, and again, push comes to shove. The spirit or the physical manifestation of Popeye is there. Um, Again, it's a little bit more grounded than say in Popeye's Revenge. Um, it's more modernized, trying to make the lore work better than in Popeye's, because still after reviewing, after talking about Popeye in Popeye's Revenge, you're still kind of left up in the air, like, as we said in the review, like, what is Popeye in that film? Is he a ghost? Is he a spirit? Is he a physical being? I mean, there's a little bit of that in this, but it's more grounded once we get into spoilers. But they go to this abandoned canning factory, and Popeye's there, and they learn more about the history of the warehouse and the factory, and it was the spinach was contaminated, and they just, like, again, like, all the characters just wander through the warehouse nonchalantly, and nothing really of note happens for a while, until honestly around the hour mark, when like an obvious, pretty much obvious reveal happens. All the characters kind of are one dimensional. There's not really much in the way of that. I mean, as it was in Popeye's Revenge, but I think, like, again, like, there was more outlandish or notable kills in Popeye's Revenge that I'm remembering more than in Popeye the Slayer Man, except for one, which is the very last kill, which we'll get into. And overall, it's just it wasn't as great or as entertaining as Popeye's Revenge. Not to say it's terrible, it's just not really that memorable. Besides the final kill, honestly. And like, there were some parts that I liked. Like, there's like a wimpy reference at the beginning of it. That was a fun little nod. And then, of course, like, there's more in reference to actual spinach being used, and that plays a bigger part in the film.
Yeah.
As opposed to, it was just like a throwaway can in Popeye's Revenge, where they just like didn't bring it up. So I kind of got a little bit more in that aspect. The lore is a little bit, as I said, modernized, trying to keep it, up to date. But it just, like, the story, they just kind of go around in circles. Nothing really gets accomplished in that aspect, and it's just like, you're getting a lot more than in Popeye's Revenge, but like, the kills aren't as effective or as enjoyable in the outlandish, over the top manner that Popeye's Revenge was, where it's trying to be, the hatchet slasher clone. This one is just, they're wandering through an old warehouse, and here comes Popeye down a hallway. Here comes Popeye in a door frame. Here comes, and it's just like, he shows up occasionally, and then, like, you're thinking something's about to happen, and it's not. And again, the characters are just flat, and they don't really do much. Whereas Popeye's Revenge, it was kind of all over the place, honestly. Again, the gore, there is some gore, but again, it's not as memorable as Popeye's Revenge when it comes to those kills. Because I'm going to remember the anchor scene in the water on the pier with the dude jacking off. I'm going to remember the hot tub scene with Popeye grabbing breasts and choking a woman to death. This one, there's only one kill at the end that I'm going to remember. The rest of them are kind of forgettable. And also, I think that, like, again, it felt more of like a faux trailer for some reason, because I was like watching it, and like when Popeye showed up, because it's definitely more cartoony. the way Popeye looks in this one than in Revenge. And it just felt like it harkened back to the faux trailer Handjob Cabin. I don't know if you ever seen that trailer, but it's a faux trailer. And like it's all these kids and they go to this cabin in the woods and then there's this spirit entity ghost thing, and it's like all the tropes of like the jump scare trailers of the time, but it's done in a comical fashion where it's a spirit giving people hand jobs. And like you have the black, the mouth opening up, the eyes black, and it's just jacking people off. And it just kind of reminded me of that, but with Popeye. And where it's just like this, just parts of this, just like the acting wasn't on par. It just felt flat, sort of like how Goldilocks was last week, where it just like felt a little flat and like a little bit more serious than anticipated. Not to say again, like Popeye's Revenge was serious, but still there's a little bit of a comical approach to it. In the over the top, because it was more over the top, and this one was like straightforward to the point, and like also like really heavy handed towards the end as well with a certain spoiler that comes up. And again, it wasn't terrible. I mean, but it wasn't great either. Ian, I'll give you your points to discuss everything you want to, and we'll get into spoilers after that.
Yeah, like I said to you, like the movie's formula was something, a lot of nothing, something, nothing, something, nothing, a little something, and that's it. And I was confused because, like, I mean, I liked the Popeye version of this movie, in this movie better than I did Revenge. I couldn't think of the tagline of that. But I agree with you, like this wasn't the best, but I felt like in the other movie, I had said I felt like Popeye was in a completely different movie. And this one I felt like he was, and I really like that they actually like gave him real lore, like gave him a purpose and a reason to be there. That actually kind of made sense, like to their world, I guess. But I hated the characters. They were all flat, like you said, and I really felt nothing for them. Like I just kind of felt like everyone was just kind of shitty. And
very true.
I feel stupid because it took you saying a name for me to be like, oh shit. So that was hinted at for a while. Okay. Of the big reveal at the end of the movie, which honestly I didn't hate. Like I didn't hate this movie. It was a little boring. I do agree that it's going to be a forgettable movie, but honestly, it's not as bad as I was thinking it would be, especially the way Popeye looks.
Yeah,
but I like all the nods to the actual like Popeye show. Like when they get to the into the bar / restaurant, and he's like, the owner was like, "No, we can't take IOUs for a cheeseburger." And I was like, that's hilarious. I was hoping that he would say, "I'll pay you on Tuesday," or something like that. But yeah, no, like I thought, as far as a Popeye movie goes, this felt more like a Popeye horror film than Revenge did. Revenge just felt like it was a guy like Popeye.
Mm-hmm. And plus the lore in Revenge was just all over the place. Like he's in the swamps. He was born that way and he was picked on, and then like he drowned or something, and then like the one late sister friend, Olive Oil, comes back into play, and she's reincarnated him or something. It was all over the place. This one, I mean, it was as straightforward as you can get.
Yeah.
I mean, you're still a little up in the air with, is he an entity that's haunting the factory, or is he a person? That's still a little up in the air even at the end of it when he vanishes, but then he comes back. So you're kind of like, okay, like you're still questioning the lore and what is Popeye, but not as much as Popeye's Revenge, because that was all over the place. But again, like, I'm gonna remember a lot of the kills more so in Revenge because they're handled better, and it was just over the top campiness, like seeing Popeye fill up a girl in a hot tub and strangle her to death. I mean, you're gonna remember that. Seeing a dude jack off on a pier and then seeing Popeye come up and put an anchor in his crotch, you're gonna remember that. This one, I mean, they just, like, he crushes the guy's head, puts his fingers in his eyeballs, twists the guy's head around, and then there's another anchor scene, which again, I don't want to get into the spoilers, but there's another guy that gets killed on a pier with an anchor. It's not as memorable as a dude jacking off, but still, it is a good effect. There's a good practical effect to go along with it, and that's another, like, again, I like the practical nature of it. I mean, at least that part worked out well. But it's just, again, it was just slow and not much happened, and a lot of talking nature of it, and like again, the whole, like, you're following Joey for like a good majority of the movie, and like he's the asshole boyfriend, and like, really, we're supposed to go, this character, and like, honestly, I mean, it's kind of worth it in the end because he gets the best death. But
Yeah.
and again, I like the lore that they get into with this version of Popeye. I like the factory actually being a spinach canning factory, and like they were contaminated, that caused it to shut down. And again, a little bit reveal happens as well. Again, I don't want to really get into it that much because it is still relatively new. But like, again, it's like, it was fine, and it was like, again, more well thought out as opposed to Revenge, where, like I said, it's just all over the place, and you're just like, you're unsure, so what is Popeye? Like this one, like, you're still kind of like, okay, so he's like a ghostly presence thing. Is he, he's haunting this area, he lives there or something, because apparently he's been living there even though he's a ghost, but he's living there and like living off the contaminated spinach, and that's what's causing him to turn into how Popeye looks. It's kind of it's kind of what I've hoped it would like turn into, honestly. The spinach turning bad and making him like a mutated, person. So it's kind of interesting in that aspect. And they kind of do sequel bait it, a little bit. And they're kind of sequel baiting it to make him like sort of a sympathetic character, where like now if they do a sequel, he's going to go after the company or something that, his wife's missing and stuff like that, so it'd be interesting to see Popeye, an actual Popeye's Revenge, where he's going after the manufacturer of the spinach, or the CEO or something, like him and the, other persons involved. So, I mean, it'd be interesting to see that continue, which again, they're both going to continue. So we have two separate lores of Popeye.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this movie, while I just wish they would have tightened the film up a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like this movie could have definitely been a short, and it would have been a lot better. But like, some of it, I mean, like, yeah, the lore and stuff was there, but like, yeah. I'm muted.
No, you're good.
Okay. My thing just said you have been unmuted. On my screen did. I was like, have I been muted this whole time? Oh, Lord.
You're good, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, sorry. I was just trying to figure out what's going on with my computer. But yeah, no, I think it's I just got a little confused with like why. I mean, I get why he was killing them, but at the same time, I'm confused by it. Like, I know like everything is just like messing with his mind, and that's why he's there. But like, I didn't understand why he was just like, it never really dived into like why he's killing off everyone. But I don't know. But it's a stupid Popeye movie, so I need to turn my brain off.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're in the weird time in horror. And here we are with all these public domain movies. And again, but it's like, I dug it a little bit more than last week's with Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I mean, because of obviously the ending I liked more, with seeing someone getting their arm ripped off and beaten to death with it. I mean, that's ace in my book. You know, when that happens, I'm always for it, seeing someone getting beaten to death with their own arm. And it was fun. You know, it had, again, like if you combine this and combine the other Popeye, you'd have a hell of a movie. But you know, just like some things that worked and some things that didn't in both of them. Like you have the chaotic, you know, energetic, the energy in the first Popeye's Revenge, and then like some of the kills and outlandishness in that one, and then you'd have like the lore in this one, and you like Frankenstein it together. You'd have a pretty cool movie. But you have to, again, pick and choose from each one to like get what you want out of it, you know. But again, overall, it's fine. Like I said, it's kind of dull, even with the kills and some of the practical effects. I mean, there's moments there where my head was nodding back and forth. And again, I had a long day yesterday, and it was just like, man, I'm really trying to persevere through this one. And it was at moments it was getting the best of me. And again, like, no fault of my own, like, again, but I'm just saying, it was just, again, it just wasn't pulling me in. Usually, sometimes these films, you know, the when it comes to like the reviews, like the film like awakens you, and you just like, you get this second wind sometimes, and like that's how it was for a lot of them, where it's just like, what is, you know, you just like get that second wind of energy. And this one is just was not doing anything for me, even when I was awake and doing other things, and they, you know, came back like, no, it's still not pulling me in. But luckily, you know, I was towards the end of it, and you know, that arm kill came into play. Like, oh, finally, that woke me up. But I was already at the end of the movie. But again, it's not terrible. I mean, it's about as mediocre as it can get. Again, like I think it a little bit. Popeye's Revenge, just like a tiny hair is better, just because of its campiness and its sort of go for the gusto type humor it had. This one, again, it's very straightforward, and the characters are very one-dimensional, and just not a lot of energy put into it. Again, I like the lore better in this one as opposed to Revenge, and like a couple practical effects were good, but the kills were more memorable. Besides one in Slayer Man, as it was in Revenge. But yeah, as always, I'm interested to see, you know, them continuing on the story of both of them, because, but I'm more interested in the lore of this one continuing on to see what happens, because they're at the end they made him more of a sympathetic character, whereas in Revenge he's just a full-on brute killing people hatchet style. Again, they're differing paths, so seeing how they turn out in upcoming years is going to be interesting. Of course, we'll review them, but I'm going to give the nod to Revenge over Slayer Man.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think this it would be kind of hard for me because there's things I liked about both movies equally, but at the same time, they're both boring.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, which turd's better?
Yeah.
I do like that this gives more of a cohesive story of Popeye. I don't think Popeye is a ghost. I think they were the way kids had grown up to avoid that place made it seem like he was a ghost, but he's just a mutated man.
Yeah.
But I
Could
did
be.
like that they threw Winnie the Pooh in there.
Yeah. It was just a little bear at a table, but like they had to get their nods in.
Yeah. Um, I was just thinking about that, but I kind of like that they actually like put effort into Popeye. I just wish they would have put that much effort into the rest of the film.
Yeah, like he's actually a sailor too. You know, he's in the Navy, and that's like some of the backstory where he's actually was in the Navy, and
Yeah.
and then like stuff he comes home and stuff happens with the contamination at the factory, and there's a lot of good, again, interesting ideas that they use, and of course the spinach and um, the family dynamic issues that come into play. Um, and again, I'm interested to see again. I can see him be mutated, mutated man, but like the way he vanished at the end just made it seem. I guess I don't know. It made it seem like he was like an entity haunting the place, but it could be again. It could just be a figment, like he just backed up slowly, even though he just vanished in camera. But I digress. It's the little
Yeah.
things that just make you think one thing and it's actually not. Who knows? Um, but again, if they continue it on, and he goes after like the CEOs or whoever shut down the factory that caused the certain element to happen. I'm interested in see where that goes, and a little bit more than whatever the hell goes on in Popeye Revenge 2, because that one again, it's still all over the place, but I just like again the kills are more outlandish in Revenge, where I just like that one's a little bit more up my alley than the one. So again, like you said, Ian, it's just like a little from column A, a little from column B. You just have to make your own,
Yeah.
choose your own adventure story and hope for the best. And again, if we had if whenever the next one comes out, or we'll see, if they continue on like a trilogy of films, but we'll see. Have to see which one does the best trilogy, the Over the Pond in England or the American. But at least they got, again, there's a lot of stuff in here that like they got right, with like the spinach and some of the um, nods like Wimpy and stuff like that. So it worked out. And again, I like the modernization of it more than like the reasoning and lore in Popeye's Revenge was like the same thing, and like Winnie the Pooh and all the other ones, like years ago, blah blah blah, something happened, and then
Yeah.
they hated him, There's just that, it's just like this one, like he's just a family man, and something happened, and now he's all bulky.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think things like these two different movies, I kind of would like to see something in the next, and both of these get a sequel because I think they both could do better. Like, I think both of the films could have done a hell of a lot better, and a sequel probably would give them a good chance to hash out some stuff that they might have,
Yeah,
missed.
definitely.
And
It was just like the first passing of like, now we can really, now that there's a little bit more money coming in, we can actually go, like they did with Winnie the Pooh 2. So it's just like go all out with the sequel.
yeah, and I'm glad that they gave Popeye some of his like sayings too. I do
Yeah.
like that they really did make this feel like a Popeye movie,
Hmm.
while the other one, just felt like it was just some dude that was a ghost that wasn't a ghost, but it was a ghost, and his sister, which was kind of weird that they made Olive Oil his sister.
Yeah.
Um, That was a lot of weird shit.
Yeah, they just threw everything at Popeye's Revenge.
I mean, still, I still am like thinking of what I might have missed about olive oils in Popeye's Revenge. Of like, why was she, I still like why did they have her just locked up and never explained it? It was just she was locked up. Was she just a fucking psycho? I mean, Popeye, he was locked up because he like hurt
He was
somebody.
different. Yeah.
Yeah, he was hurt different and hurt someone because of it, trying to save somebody. But I don't know. It was just a weird movie. That I think, but like I said, I think both could really use a sequel or a reboot or something where they could just tighten up their story. And I mean, this Popeye the Slayer Man, I think it would have been a great story had they just like figured out what they wanted to do with all the characters.
Yeah.
And gave us like more Popeye in between. Because I felt like that was one of the things that was just boring. Like, it was like, oh, hey, it's been boring for a few minutes. Here's Popeye killing
The characters are so dumb they kill themselves.
I know, literally. And I was just like, what the fuck? And not one of them, except for like the reveal, actually, like, I was hoping that more people would heed the warning of, that was written literally on the wall. Who wrote that? I don't know. It was kind of weird that it was written there. Like, this guy is known to kill anybody who steps in foot here. So, but yet there's already like a way to deal with him. Who figured that out? That's what I want to know.
Or the one that was telling him to heed the warning, don't go in there.
Yeah. And the guy's like, yeah. What was his name? Greg or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That fucking couple killed themselves in the same fucking way. That was hilarious. Oh, we can't escape from the roof. Well, I'm gonna try. Boom, falls. Oh, I'm still alive.
And they fell on top of each other in like a kiss. I was like, okay, that's actually kind of fun.
Oh, that didn't work for my boyfriend. I'm gonna go do it instead.
Yeah, no, that was just stupid, and it was funny. It was probably
funny.
the funniest death I have seen in a while.
Yeah, because it's so stupid. It's just like, again, like dumb characters making stupid decisions, and that's prime. Just like, oh, that's dumb as shit. When your characters kill themselves over fucking Popeye. That's something you'd see in a spoof film, like if you had like like in Scary Movie.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I was thinking.
And like he just look at the camera and shrug or something like that.
Yeah. But I was like, that's amazing. I actually had to like go back and rewatch like when I was like, I was like, no fucking way. They got both of them. That's just hilarious.
Yeah.
And go on.
I just, again, it's like it's memorable, that scene in general and the ending, but still, like, there needed to be more with like more interesting kills. You know, like, again, I guess I said the same thing in Popeye's Revenge, where he needed to do something more. But again, like, to work with like his stature, like at least I don't know if he crushed someone's head in the first one in Revenge. Yeah, but like I need to see him take his fist and like knock someone's block off, just like boom, just an uppercut. He has the bulk. His forearms are just hulking. They need to do something with it instead of just like twisting that guy's neck around. I want to see someone's head pop, pulling the guy's arm off. That's wonderful. That's one foot in the right direction. But I need to see more of that. I just need to see this big hulking manner, ripping someone in half or something, but again, it's mediocre. I mean, both of them are pretty mediocre, and they both have parts that are okay. They just need to be, as Ian laid out, brushed up on more, and get all their eggs in a row, or whatever the phrase is, chickens in a basket, and just kind of
Get all your spinach in a can.
Yeah, all the spinach in a can, and try to work things out better, lay a better foundation. Work around Popeye as a character instead of just having him lumber around in a warehouse, coming down a hallway, showing up in the back frame and a door. Just like they didn't really do much with Popeye, and that's like where they did a lot with Popeye's Revenge. They did like less of that in this one. So I don't know. It's one of those where it's just kind of like either or is fine. It's nothing amazing, but they're both better than they have any right to be. But this one's a little bit more boring, but like it's better lore setup as opposed to Popeye's Revenge. But Popeye's Revenge has better kills, memorable kills, and again, it's just all over the place. we're gonna confuse ourselves down the line when all the sequels come out. We're gonna try to remember all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, for what it was, it really wasn't that bad, and I'm glad about that because I don't think I could have handled the week we both have had.
Yeah,
A movie that was just like downright pissed me off, awful. Like I'm still waiting for a movie to make me as mad as Three Blind Mice did.
Man, yeah, that's.
I don't like that movie.
I mean, we went off on that one. I mean, that's if you haven't heard our Three Blind Mice review. I mean, we really went off, and then we went off again in the Winnie the Pooh 2 review because of everything. You have to go back to listen to those reviews because that movie just caved in on itself bad, and just like, oh my goodness,
it's but I don't think there's anything really left to go into.
No, not until Popeye something else comes out next week. Who knows? No, I hope not. We want to start something new for April, and we're kind of getting to the point. Like again, we could do things however we want them, but we always like to do these reviews when these new ones come out like this, and you can't be late to the game. But yeah, April's going to be fun. We got some marathons lined up for the next upcoming months. So I'm always gamed to the films that we get in those marathons, and hopefully the next one coming up, I'm hoping next month in April, because I got some ideas lined up, and hopefully we can get that working in our favor. And then of course May is a fun time to be had, which we'll reveal close to May. So we got some shows lined up. Again, of course, if something pops up down the line, we'll discuss it that weekend. And we usually do these as we go, and it's always fun. And again, I wouldn't have it any other way. Talking to my buddy about these stupid ass horror movies. And Ian, it's always great talking with you. And
Likewise.
I appreciate everyone listening to us ramble for almost an hour for all these shitty movie reviews that we do of these awful films sometimes that don't deserve to go longer than we review them for. But I digress. It's fun. I enjoy it. I appreciate the genre. I love it. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah. And I appreciate everyone for listening. And we will see you next time on Horror Night Oasis.
All right. Good night.